If I didn't have that to lose, I probably would have died. We don't know, but I can only assume that the new medication you've been taking for your colitis has caused your organs to swell by about 5 or 10%.
Pulling up to me and all this, I'm thinking, who's this racist?
I was just so happy to see you.
So my way of shining the spotlight on things like racism, for example, do you know, because I've accused you of being a racist plenty of times, which is probably about 90% true. But what's up, guys? It's another episode of the Shak Down, and today I'm with Matt Ord from LV Logistics. You probably know Matt if you're from around this area because he's a little bit of a character. So we're going to get into lots of different stuff today and have some fun with it. I hope that you watch this episode. I hope that you enjoy the episode. I'm sure you will, and have some fun along the ways with us. So let's get into it. So Matt, how's it going, brother?
Never better. I'm a little bit nervous sat in front of you. We've known each other for so long. This feels very formal, doesn't it? Normally it's a high five and a sausage on the barbecue.
A halal one, obviously.
Oh yeah, obviously. I bought the halal sweets today for you.
Yeah, no vegan sweets, brother.
Thank you.
Matt's brought us some Muslim-friendly sweeties in. He brought Percy pig ones, which I don't know. I don't know whether it was intentional, given that I'm a Muslim. Knowing Matt, it's probably on purpose.
Yeah, absolutely is.
So, all joking aside, bro, it's good to have you here. I've been wanting to get you on for a little bit. I'm sure we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff because, as you say, we go back a little bit and you're active around and about these parts, well, in the north of England, really, aren't you, in terms of business? There's lots of other stuff that we can talk about. But I think really the best way to get into it, bro, is if I pass the mic to you and you just tell us who you are, what you're about, what you're doing, what you've been doing.
Oh, God. I won't do what I did in the last podcast, which is talk for the first 20 minutes. And he went, oh, Matt, you're only supposed to do a 5-minute intro. Matthew Ord. I am, who am I? I'm the company ambassador for LV Logistics, previously LV Shipping and Transport. Changed our name at the start of the year, marking our 100th anniversary in business. Our heart is in Teesside. Our main facilities and offices are in Teesside, but we have 13 offices in the UK, 33 around the world, about 200 staff in the UK and 550 worldwide. And we move stuff. We do projects. We ship stuff. We send stuff on aircraft. You make it, we'll shift it. And that's what I do for a living. I think they employed me because, as I said, the bigger and uglier it is, the more profit there is in it.
What?
The bigger,
you?
No, that's what I was thinking.
All right.
They said the bigger and uglier the products, but I think that was a reflection on me. But hey, we'll see. I've still got a cheeky smile, so I do all right.
You threw me off there.
There'll be a lot of
that. No, I get what you're saying. I'm sure everybody understood that. Cool. So that's what you're doing now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back on a little trip down memory lane. So let's come to the professional stuff later. Where have you come from, man? What was your childhood like? What were you like as a kid? Where are you from? Whatever you want to talk about, man. Let's get to know Matt.
So I was born in 1979. So born in the 70s, lived in the 80s, 90s. 2000s, 10s, 2020s. So I feel like I'm actually older than I actually am, but just the century I was born in was late on, so I managed to get a bit of the 70s into me, but I wasn't very old. Lived in Winniebanks in Middlesbrough for a number of years. Dad got a pay rise at the gas board. We afforded to move from one side of Ackland Road to the other, to the dizzy heights of Linthorpe, so we were no longer from Winniebanks, which just meant that all my mates came to my house and trashed it rather than going to their houses. So born and bred there, lived there till I was about 15, 16, until I started work and then moved elsewhere. So went to Ackland Grange School, wasn't academically very, very clever, didn't challenge me. I got bored very easily, a bit like I do now. I'm very... I suppose scatty is probably a word that you use and think, that's not a very good word to describe with, but I come up with 100 things a day. I'm constantly on the go. I want to do stuff. I want to get it done. I don't like waiting. So I need to temper that. Probably a little bit of ADHD or something in me there that is never a bad thing when you're in business. You need different skill sets of different people around, and that's why I probably, should I say get around a bit? Is that the right phrase? But I get to know a lot of people. I get to meet a lot of people. I'm engaged. I'm interested. I ask the right questions. And from that day, I left with a feeling of, oh, he was all right. Or maybe he was a pain in the arse. I don't know. A lot of that as well. But so, yeah, I left school, did okay GCSEs, sort of C's, D's, that sort of thing. It was never a sort of something I bothered about. I wasn't really focused on it. I was just alive. I was just doing fun stuff with my mates, you know. Left school, didn't have a job. As you know, I've got a younger sister and 2 older brothers. 2 older brothers had left home by that point, one in the army and one moved away. My sister was off for 6 weeks holidays, so I thought, I'm just going to chill out for 6 weeks. And then my mum came in about 3 weeks and said, there's 10 bob, 50 pence to the younger listeners, viewers, whatever. Go to town, don't come back without a job. I was like, oh, shit. And weirdly, I got off at the...
Auntie Pam he's talking about there. Yeah. We go back for some time.
So she said, go to town. It was 26 pence to get to town on the bus. So I only had 24 pence to get back home. And I'd walked around what is now the rather impressive historic quarter in Middlesbrough. And the first building I went into was actually the Chamber of Commerce. And I went to reception. It was pretty posh. I says, excuse me, love, do you do jobs? She went, no, we don't. Didn't think to say we do apprentices or whatever. I walked outside and I think I'm looking on the floor for 2 pence to go home to say I can't find a job. And I said to this guy, can I have 2 pence, mate? Because I'm never going to see you again and I need to get the bus home. And he went, a bit of a cheeky kid, aren't you? I says, oh, well, my mum sent me down here to get a job and I haven't got enough to get home. And he gave me this 2 pence. I said, oh, my wife works at the multi-purpose training centre, which is now Teesside Archives. And he said, if you go in there and ask for Jill, she'll look after you. I was like, okay. So I goes in, ask for Jill. 16-year-old, this woman with quite an obvious cleft palate. And at that age, I was just sort of staring at her, thinking, I didn't know, I'd never seen one before. I was like, I wonder what's happened there. She was lovely, absolutely lovely. First floor was secretarial, literally typewriters. I thought, oh no, my dad'll kill me. Goes to the next floor and it was proper work. Like people making stuff. I was like, oh, it's not really me, that. Looks a bit dirty. There was page 3 girls in the background. I was like, nah. And she went, oh, the next floor, it's just catering. I went, oh, catering? What, like food? She went, yeah. And I went and looked through the window and it was like food and a lot of women. And I was like, 2 things I love, cake and women. I mean, like, I love my mum is what I meant. I'm not a outrageous flirt. So I was like, oh, can I do that? And she was like, well, you can, if you want. I was like, so anyway, long story short, I took that job, did a basic catering course, worked in Kel's restaurant on a YTS on Linthorpe Road for about 2 years. Really enjoyed it, but I wanted to be in the kitchen when it suited me, when it was fun in there, when it was dull in there, and I wanted to be out of the house being nosy, so I think they were just getting a bit fed up with me. And I was on split shift, so I learned how to deal with customers, deal with people. I was getting the bus to and from. You weren't earning a lot of money, and the home life at the time. Parents were going through a bit of a divorce. Well, it wasn't a bit of a divorce; it was a divorce, and that wasn't very common then. It was quite taboo almost. And whether you like it or not, it might not affect you at the time and stuff. But there was a lot of other stuff going on in our lives that meant that it was a big sort of moment for our family, if that makes sense. Parents divorced. I changed jobs. I became a fitness instructor. So Fat Matt was no longer for a while. I'd been eating all the profits, I think, in the restaurant. And I went to work in this gym. Having never been in a gym, the guy who owned it, who you'll know, Mike Flanagan, approached me and said, I just think you're great with people. Like, the people are like it. Anyway, surely enough, a couple of years got me into shape. And the gyms took a bit of a decline after about 3 years. So I left there. Well, actually got closed down, that one, but still had a few others. And I went to work in insurance, where I learnt my sales pitch, for Churchill on the phones. And I loved it. Good job, earning good money at the time. I think about £40,000 sat on our backsides. Just being in a call centre, it wasn't the hardest job in the world, but you got a bit stale. You got a bit, is this all there is to life? And do I want more? And what can I do? And that's where you start. That's really where I started to think about my career. I'm mid-20s at this point. I'm thinking, I've got no great qualifications. Am I going on a bit? I've been to university, that sort of stuff. So I decided to take a job selling property overseas and doing some similar but not the same call centre work in Stokesley for a mortgage company.
Yeah.
I seem to be the poison chalice donor that then went to liquidation because they were doing the right to buy scheme, and that scheme ended to some degree. Well, it didn't end. They just weren't allowed to charge what they were charging these poor people. So that ended. And then I did a job where I travelled quite a lot with the McCullough family. So I worked for Tim McCullough on a product called Trailer Lift. And then we worked there for 3 years. That business then got sold to an American company. So that ended. And then I worked in recruitment for a very short period of time, which we'll just gloss over. Awful sector, really tough, really sort of sell your soul type stuff. And I realised that I had a moral compass. I didn't want to rip the same customers off and keep repeating the business, so I gave up on that pretty quickly. And amongst other things, I then put something on LinkedIn saying I worked for the Chamber of Commerce for 5 years, doing international trade, and that's where it kicked off. That's where people started to know who I was. And I was very fortunate that the Chamber would effectively pay me to be out there, to be the guy who people went to if they had any problems with imports and exports, which you can clearly see why it leads onto the role I've got now. Everybody in the Northeast had to come to me for their export documentation. I offered them something they couldn't get elsewhere for very little cost, and provided a service that they were really pleased with. So I then joined LV 5.5 years ago now, and it's probably the most challenging. I don't think any business is perfect, and we've gone on a transition over the last 13 years, but certainly the last 5 years I've been there, and we continue to develop as a business into challenging the big boys of the world. So from what was a one-man small family-run business to be the sort of size of animal we are now is pretty impressive. And here I am, finally becoming famous with a beautiful picture of you above me.
So one thing that is interesting me, which I don't actually know the answer to until I've asked you this question here, is did they ever find out that you walked into the Chamber of Commerce at the beginning of that?
Yeah. Mad, isn't it? Yeah. I didn't realise. And it was literally 20 years to the year that I walked back in. I was 36 and I would have been 16.
So do they know?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there was a guy in there whose name I forget, and he taught accounts. Lovely fella. If anyone knows him, he wore braces. Lovely fella. And he sort of looked at me on my second day. He went, "I recognise you." I went, "All right." Well. And then it twigged that I did a basic bookkeeping course with a girl when I was 16 that I quite had a crush on. She was doing it, so I thought I'd do it just so I could be in the same room as her. And it was in that building. And then I realised it twigged that I'd been in the building before, and they sort of rejected me. And then I came there to run their international trade with quite a different sort of profile. And that's how... It's not that quick, is it? 20 years, but things change, and the knockbacks that set you back for a reason, so you can realign and go back and keep going and keep going. I suppose it's that dogged approach in me. While I was quite good at sales, I found ways around things. I negotiated better. I thought about things a little bit smarter. So it was mad. 20 years on, walked back in as the international trade manager. Yeah, quite funny.
I think that's quite a funny link that
mad.
You started the journey. Auntie Pam sent you on your way. So basically, Auntie Pam got you the job.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
It was either that or the leather end of the belt. So I took the bus ride. Yeah.
Also, another question that's just come into my head is the love of cake? Does that emerge from Auntie Pam? That's got to come from there.
She still does it now, mate. So my brother was up from London last week, and they all come to my house now. I think I'm going to sell it and buy a bungalow so no one stays with us. But she does these amazing hobnobs.
Yeah.
And to be fair, she's okay, but some of the stuff, she just crucifies it. She'll hide a pork pie under some mash just because it's going out of date, and you'll be going, what? Ah, it's a pork pie, so it's going to go... it's just... She's mad. She's getting old now, mate. You know what I mean? She does everything by sell-by date. Oh, it'll be fine for the 5 days. You're like, poof.
No, it's
but yeah, definitely, Mum bakes a lot, still bakes, still does a mean fruit loaf and hobnobs and cakes, and whenever you go there's always something there.
Yeah.
Thanks for the diabetes, Mum.
So, you kind of like I always think that you're quite an approachable dude. You're different in the sense of you're a bit of a character and that, and so that makes you memorable and whatnot. And I think that probably helps facilitate your networking and the skills you've got there.
Yeah.
But like in terms of enterprising, businessy kind of stuff, what's the deal there? Because we talk, obviously. So, How does that work for you? How does it work for Matt? Like
So
terms of
I've always said that I'm not the brains behind anything that might look like I'm the brains behind. I've always surrounded myself with smarter, better people than me that have a different skill set or a better skill set to something I'm offering. So I was quite lucky getting the chamber that it wasn't my job to deliver anything. It was my job to throw things over the wall to some degree and say, can you do that? Find someone who can do that. I was very good as a matchmaker, you need that? I know someone who can do that. And when I'd never provide something to someone that I didn't know had a good reputation. And especially in Teesside, but in the northeast of England as well, but especially in Teesside, your reputation's all you've got. You know, you go to the borough ground, you see the boxes of the clients that are there. They all know each other. There's no way you're saying something and getting away with it because they'll just call bullshit. And it's all you've got. Sorry for swearing. They'll just call it out for what it is. I have many clients, especially now while the sort of, what would you call, the torch is shone heavily on Teesside. I think we're mentioned 4 times in a mini budget, and we'd only been mentioned 2 times historically to that point. Yeah. So it gives you an idea. So anyway, the point being, the clients in Newcastle say, how do we get into business in Teesside? How do we do that? I said, you have to be there. And it's not cut and dry like that, but it certainly helps. If you're a Newcastle-based business saying, we want to do this, and go, well, I've got 3 of my pals who I know really well, who I go to the match with, or I go to a dinner with, that I can go to for that. So you'd have to give me something really compelling for me to move away from that. Let's call it almost incestuous behaviour, where we keep things to ourselves and we share things, and that's where we've been successful. However, I think that in order to grow to the levels of the opportunities that we've gotten to fulfil them, we do need to stop talking just about Teesside. You are now for on a weekend. Are we taking our partners into Middlesbrough? We're probably not right now, are we? We're going to York or Leeds or Liverpool or Manchester or Newcastle. Anyway, the point being is that in order to be successful, you've got to draw people in from other areas. We won't do this alone. We've got things like the Shak stack, the stack coming. The stack coming, which is brilliant news. But also on the flip side of it, that will alienate some businesses that are already in existence that haven't had that level of support. So when you've got this fine balance of we want to build, you've got to do it carefully. And I think we're okay at it. We could be better, but...
So it's an interesting... this is my brain messing me up here, Matt. The word that I want to use, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't do it, so I'm going to word it a different way. It's an interesting path that you've gone down there.
Yeah.
Because, some people might know and some people might not know, but Matt does other stuff in business and related to the economy wider in this region. And I'm sure you sit on various boards or whatever.
Too many.
Yeah, too many probably. But no, that I didn't mean that. That's I'm just messing with you. Like it's
I like
good.
To say yes. I like to please. So it is one of my conscious decisions that LV Logistics is the heartbeat of what I do. Without that, I can't. So I might as well say it. But I'm on the board for the Combined Authority on the left. Yeah. I'm the lead for Transport and Logistics. Yeah. I'm the vice chair, soon to be chair of Tees and Hartlepool Port Users, which is 70 businesses on the river. I'm a trustee for 7 schools in the northeast. I sit on the board for Stockton River South, their logistics. So can you see how it can? Yeah. So
what the reason? Like I was messing with you there because being pally, but
easily done.
But actually, in reality, I think people like you need to be in those places because you view it and have the right perception of how things need to be there to move things forward. But going on the track that you were talking about, there's an interesting concept because making the environment around you better is the end goal, right? Because we want all the businesses to succeed and prosper around here, and we want more people to have good jobs around here. That means there's money to play with in the economy across the board. There's a B2B side and consumerism as well. You know, if people are out of work and there's not good businesses here, then they ain't going to be going into the shops and the stacks 100%. And the rest of it. However, it is a fine balance. And what's your thoughts on how we need to be thinking as a community of business people and people who want to help facilitate economic growth? Because, for example, let me give you something that everybody will know. You know, the empire, that's been there for years, right? it must be pretty tough trading in that industry. I'm using an industry I know very well, which is why you're smiling and laughing at me. But that's one example, and the amount of places that you're seeing fall over.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't think, just because of trading conditions only, you know.
Yeah.
But we need those types of facilities and resources around us. Otherwise, how do you attract the investment and retain people in the area?
Yeah.
Everybody's not crazy like me and you to stay here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I love the place we come from, which is why I came back here.
Yeah.
So you get what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah, no, there's got to be a drag, there's got to be a pull, there's got to be a benefit. People have got to see that, and I think I don't want to get too deep into politics because it's not an area that I wish to go into, but it's certainly, you know, my reasons for taking some of them roles, one, because it's linked directly to my employment. Secondly, I'm passionate about Teesside and Middlesbrough specifically because that's where I'm born, that's where my family live, and that's where I want to see thrive. And it's nice to see the good things. I'm not saying that they're all perfect, and I'm not saying that things haven't happened that maybe shouldn't, but I think that happens in all levels of that world. They've all got an ego, they all want to be heard, says the guy on the podcast with his mate, but you get the picture. They have an ego to feed, and that's fine. I have no problem with that if they're holistic and honest about it. Going back to the reason for being in that position is that you mentioned it earlier, but I only know one way to talk to people. This isn't an act. I'm not making out I'm someone else. I call bullshit when I hear it. I've got a vision of my partner runs a small family-owned retail business. Father-in-law runs a huge engineering firm. I work for a logistics business. So as a Sunday dinner table, it's quite a good barometer for what's happening. It affects us. We have an impact. We have a young family. We have older generations. So I think we have good balance around that table, and that's really important for me to get the understanding of other people. I've probably been criticised in the past for being a little bit too verbal with some of my thoughts, and that's probably because my thought process is if I see it and I think it, I say it.
Interesting.
I've learned to sort of tailor that over many years, and certainly social media's played its part where people look for an argument, people want to fight. You know, and it's quite pathetic, and that you can end up spending a lot of your time thinking about these pathetic things that mean nothing. And then you go back to the heart, and you go home, and I get into bed, and my partner's there, my daughter's there. That's all that really matters to me. And people think that's a joke, but I don't care for much else. There's things that I like, there's things that I enjoy doing, but I've never took myself or my life too serious at all. So I think it's balance. It's back to your question. I've got a decent balance now in life, and I think I can hopefully help people like me that were in a similar situation to me being younger to accelerate their potential quicker.
You know the issue that you touched on there about being a vocal person.
Yeah.
Because you have been.
Yeah.
So, and I know you won't mind me saying that. I don't mean it in a positive or a negative way. I'm just going straight down the line on it. But you are quite a vocal person. So, do you think that is something that is a benefit or a setback or what? Like, it's an interesting thing because now it's an attention environment. Like, social media is a big part of our lives. Yeah. We're getting out there. We're doing podcasts. You know, it's all you're out there. You know what I mean? So, but do you think being vocal is a good or a bad thing?
I think it's been both for me, definitely.
Yeah.
Certainly, I wouldn't say bad. Like it's had a negative impact at times because I think it teaches you to see other people's views as well. You might say something in absolute innocence,
right?
That is just a bit of fun. And we've seen it with famous people, haven't we, where they've lost their jobs or they've said something that actually, not condoning it, but back in the day it would have been acceptable to make that comment in society.
Right.
And something that someone said as a 16-year-old, for me, unless it's really horrific, shouldn't really be brought to the forefront when that person's 50 and said, oh, you called him a so-and-so when you were like, okay, let's try and move on from that. But and then being good in terms of I think for work, for engagement, for networking, for certainly the more professional levels of social media, the likes of LinkedIn, it's always had a place for me in my role in terms of being seen, being able to connect people, being able to do good things. I get tagged on LinkedIn pretty much every day to say, oh, Matt will help, Matt can do it. And nine times out of 10, that's a work-related thing. Yeah. Sometimes it's a favour that I can do someone, and if it takes a phone call, someone like you saying, Shak, can you help this client out who's got some funding issues or that wants to look at this, and you can give them a 10-minute phone call. That's, I think, the strength of Teesside, and that's what I wouldn't want to lose, the ability to make action and actually deliver something meaningful rather than just talk about it.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. So, to people out there that are maybe young in their career or young in age, or they're old in age and they're just getting onto the social platforms or whatever the case is, if they're that kind of a person, like, what kind of advice would you give them? Because I get what you're saying there, and it's a really interesting debate, isn't it? It's a kind of like, yes, offensive and discrimination and things like that are probably not
acceptable.
But they wouldn't be acceptable anyway, So, but in terms of using platforms to be vocalizing something that you believe in, whether it's environmental or whatever. Do you think? Like, I personally think it's a good tool to use.
It's done the right way. It's passionate, isn't it? It's like evoking. You want to follow that person. You want to be involved. You want to understand what their life's like. It becomes a minor celebrity type thing, doesn't it? Where you'd be interested in just having a look inside their house to some degree.
Yeah.
But you're right, and we've seen it backfire. I think you go back 10 years, and there were open platforms. You could say what you want with very little repercussion. Whereas now, I would suggest to a younger person or a younger self, I would say, I wouldn't say I didn't care much. I didn't care what people thought much.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get to a certain level, you've got to think about, you say that on Facebook, how would that be portrayed if it was on LinkedIn, let's say, through your professional community? So there's always been, I like learning, and I'm not an academic, but I love learning. I love being around smarter people, different cultures, different backgrounds, different people that have issues and challenges as well as great lives.
Yeah.
That's how you learn. You learn by travelling, meeting new people. That's what I love. So I'm big into the team. I'm big into, we can't do this alone, but we can do it together. There's loads of power quotes I could use, but I'm not going to. But it's just about being around, get good people around you.
Yeah.
If you haven't got good people, you'll inherit their traits, won't you?
Yeah,
and you'll
exactly.
end up being a bit of a dipshit.
There is the whole, like, who you're surrounding yourself
100%,
with is 100%. I believe in that. You need people who are on your wavelength, really, whatever that is that you're trying to achieve and do. But yeah, I like where things are at the moment for a lot of reasons, and of course they have drawbacks and setbacks to them, because you do see things that maybe you shouldn't really be having to see. But it is a useful tool to basically get the general sentiment of the public out there as well, isn't it? Like, when things aren't going too well at a national level or something, everybody's energy prices, for example, everyone and the dog's going on about it on a platform somewhere. So it's a good feedback to take, and you can use that in lots of different places, so it's just interesting.
I love the feedback thing as well. I said I sit on a lot of boards. I'm also like there to scrutinise, and that's like, you can do a lot of self-reflection. So you sat there, why do you want that, and what are you going to do with it, and how will you achieve it? They're easy questions to ask someone who says, I want 10 million quid.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's easy to do that, but actually that helps yourself scrutinise yourself to some degree, and that's how you develop, that's how you move forward, and that's how you start to think about what's important for your life and plan for the future. And we've both had our, and Carl as well, who I spend a lot of time, both had our sort of health issues over the last couple of years, and that's only sort of zoomed in on that to some degree of what's important. And that for me is family life, and just spending as much time as I can. And when we're all busy, and obviously Catherine's dad was very, very busy and still is, and I see that, and you try and reflect on, you go, let's do what we can, where we can, to spend time with our families, because when we're laying there and we've only got a few hours left, they're the regrets you'll have. You won't think, I didn't have that cake, or I didn't go and see that. You'll say, do you know what, I wish I'd have spent more time with the people who love me, the people who care for me, and that sort of thing. So quite a sort of an emotional person since I've had a daughter. I know you've been through it as well, so it does change your perception on a lot of things, doesn't it? It shows you what's of true value and what means stuff to you, rather than the stuff that you think is important that really doesn't mean a knacker, does it?
No, of course it doesn't. And I think a lot of people will relate to that, to be honest. It's definitely emotional, I can say 100%, especially when they get to
Coronation Street now.
My two girls, they're bloody they're not kids anymore, are they? So it's interesting.
When we had Nancy, that was like, I never took any advice from anyone because I'm a bit of an idiot, and a lot of people will give me advice. had children 40 years ago when the world was very different. You you had to do certain things that you don't have to do now. We have a little camera that watched her while she slept, so we didn't have to go and check on her.
Yeah.
And I dare say if they were around 40 years ago, they would have done the same. But and my friends that got kids now said, the only advice I'll give you is don't listen to anyone. And do what your instinct tells you. Catherine's never got anything wrong when it comes to Nancy. She's never got anything wrong anyway, just in case she's listening. But with Nancy, her instinct, her motherly instinct is 100% every time I should go and check on her. Do you think? And I go, don't ask me. If you think it, you go and do it, and that's how you sleep easy. And it's an amazing thing to see.
Yeah, it's all good. So you touched on something there. I know you've had a few of your own personal challenges relating to health and things, and I know you're pretty open about it as well, right? So
I'll show you if you want.
Well, yeah, I think
maybe not now.
I think that's your call, and if you think that it might help people or whatever, that's down to you. But in terms of the challenges that you faced in the journey you've been on over the last couple of years with health, do you want to
absolutely
talk about it?
Where was I? Nearly, it wasn't quite 20 years ago, but about 18, 19 years ago. It's going to sound mad. I had a bit of a fight with a hedgehog, and whilst there's no evidence to say that's where it stemmed from, it's quite likely that my dog basically attacked a hedgehog in the middle of the night, and I was trying to get the hedgehog out of my dog's mouth. It's just a horrific story. And I sort of hit the dog to get the hedgehog, and I didn't. I hit the hedgehog. I didn't know this at the time because it was pitch black, and I came in giving it this in my hand, shaking my hand, and I looked down, there was blood all over me.
Right.
So I'd hit the head. Long story short, I went to work the next day, and my boss said, you need to go and get a tetanus. They're really dirty. Anyway, roll on maybe 6 months. I got a tetanus a week later because when I went to hospital, there was a kid there had got a stick through her eye, with a kid with a compound fracture. I was like, I'll just come back another day, Anyway, about 6 months later, I'm trying to eat a sandwich and I just couldn't swallow it. And a really, really long story that we haven't got time for short is that I went to hospital and I basically had everything. They didn't know, but they said, you've got this, you've got that, you're going to get this. And then I remember I got wheeled into a small room, a bit like a prison cell, window the raw, and then a toilet to the side. And they pushed me in, and them little blinds on the windows that go up and down. So I could see my mum through the window. My mum's just like that. Oh no. And I'm like, so your instinct is go, I'm fine, it's not wrong with me. Like I'm thinking they're going to come in and say, Bart, you've got an hour to live or whatever. Come in, they said, you've got Clostridium difficile. Imagine my face. I went,
what's that?
C. diff for sure. I went, it still makes no sense. And basically, it's an internal issue that attacks your organs in your body. A bit like MRSA attacks the bone, this attacks your organs. I was quite lucky that they caught it at a stage that about 4 or 5 weeks in hospital. Came out really skinny. Felt amazing. Jokes. But joking aside, if I didn't have the weight to lose, because I'd gone from working in a gym to working in a call centre, so all that sort of, I wouldn't call it muscle, but any muscle I did have just turned to fat. If I didn't have that to lose, I probably would have died. So anyway, got over that, recovered quite well, went back to work after a year. It was quite serious. Then maybe 4 years on, I just started to notice I wasn't feeling great. I was very tired. There was a little bit of blood in my stools. As a man, you don't really think much of it. You don't want to think about it. One, it's poo. Nobody wants to talk about it. And secondly, you're trying to, you're a man, it's just a bit of blood, so you completely ignore it. It wasn't constant, came and went. And then, I don't know when I actually got the diagnosis, because it's over a 20-year span, but I got told that I had IBS, then something else, then basically everything that you can have with your stomach, they said I had. So courses of medication ends up that I had quite severe colitis. So you begin this sort of hamster wheel of medication, flare-up, steroids, medication for over probably about 8 to 10 years that happened. And last October again, because I do talk a lot and I will talk a lot, I got taken into hospital because I had what I thought was a bad back. And that's all I thought it was. I'd played golf the day before. I was like, it was right in the middle of my back. And again, I goes into hospital, oral morphine, couldn't find anything wrong with me. And then the doctor checking me out was a gastro surgeon. So up until this point, I've always gone to James Cook for my specialist for my stomach, but I went to North Tees because I sent an ambulance. I don't think I needed it, but you ring 111, you don't answer the questions like you go in hospital. So it was a process rather than me ringing up saying, "Can you take me to hospital?" So I goes in there and he's sort of seeing me out, effectively discharging me, saying, "Oh, you know, so and so." So I'm like, "What was wrong?" He said, "We don't know, but I can only assume that the new medication you've been taking for your colitis has caused your organs to swell by about 5 or 10%.
Yeah.
Organs in your stomach in that area. So again, if I wasn't big, I hope everyone's noticing I've lost a bit of weight, by the way. If I wasn't big, that wouldn't have had anywhere to go. And again, potentially life-threatening to some degree." And he just said, "Have you ever thought about surgery?" And I just said, "For what?" And he said, "For your colitis." I said, "Well, I didn't know you could." And I was in the hospital, and he started talking to me. He said, "Well, you'll have this out, you'll have that out." I said, "All right, okay, so what won't I and what will I be able to do?" He said, "We'll have a bag." I said, "Where's it go?" He says, "On your stomach." I went, "How big is it?" "About that big, so maybe 5-6 inches. And I went, "Right." And he went, "Yeah, so, you know, it's probably not something you want." I went, but I'll live longer and healthier." He went, "Yeah." I went, "Okay." So I sat in the waiting room of North Tees and I emailed my specialist from James Cook. And to cut a long story short, that process would have took a year and a half, but unlike me being me, I knew someone who could maybe get me in a bit sooner.
Yeah.
So I was kind of lucky that I got a bit of fast tracking and a bit of a, there you go, check that out, a bit of private. And then they rang me on the 4th of February last year and said, "Can you come in 10 days?" So Catherine, my partner, she's got a florist. If you've done the maths, you'll know that's Valentine's Day, which is the busiest week of her life. It's crazy. But actually a good thing, because it didn't allow her much time to think about it. It didn't allow me time. Dropped me off at the hospital in the morning with little one, quite emotional. And walking down the corridor thinking, shit, is this, like, how bad am I? You question yourself, don't you? Like, how bad is it? Can I live with it? And without going into too much detail, I'd be in a meeting, something like this, and I will explain it because I think it's important to.
Yeah.
You want to go to the toilet for that activity.
Yeah.
You probably know, maybe I'll go to the toilet in an hour or so. I was getting probably 15 seconds of notice, and if I didn't go, there's nothing I could do to stop it. And that would happen 30 or 40 times a day, to the point where when you're in a flare-up situation, it's not nice. It's debilitating. You're masking it a lot. You're hiding it. And as often as the joker in the crowd has often got the most to hide, that was me to some degree at times, not all the time, because when you're on steroids and the medication's working, you're okay, but you don't feel great. So into surgery, 6 hours. I had my bowel, colon, large intestine and anus all removed, and I was left with a stoma bag, which is your small intestine sticks out of your stomach, and you have a small bag which your waste goes into. And I get a lot of questions because I'm open about it, and I just answer them honestly. It doesn't smell like normal because I haven't got a bowel that it's formed in, so it's a bit like food that passes through your bowel. It passes through your small intestine. I empty it probably twice a day.
Yeah.
It takes about 10 seconds. And it's probably, apart from meeting Catherine, the best thing I've ever done in my life in terms of having a family and thinking. My dad died young, as you know. Not young, but young-ish, 63, massive heart attack. And there's a lot of similarities between myself and my dad, not personality-wise, but physically. And when he died, they found out that he had colitis as well, but never dealt with it. So I'm trying to do something now, and I've got an Instagram page, which is the only thing I'll plug today other than LV. Sanseb, greatest coffee in Teesside, is an Instagram page that I've got that I'm not as active on it as I was, called Baghdad. People said I shouldn't call it that, but I'm a dad and I've got a bag, so... I seen
because we are connected, and I thought it was fucking sick branding, to be honest, because it's actually like... It's just too mint. It's like related exactly to what it is.
And I had a bit of fun with it. I took a picture on the beach where I had my bag out and I said, "Get your bags out for the lads and stuff." And I've got a group of friends who are brilliant. And what I used that social media for, and this is what I would tell anyone to do, other than speaking to me and reaching out to me to ask if you've got any questions on that thing, on that particular subject, is that I am inquisitive, so can you imagine how annoying I was to people that started talking to me that had a stoma? Yeah. I was like, "How big is it? Can you send me a picture?" They were like, "No one's ever asked these questions. Like, does it hurt? Is it painful? How do you clean it? What happens there? What happens if you go swim? What happens at intimate times?" And I literally threw every question of my life at these people. And there was a few people that I won't mention that were just phenomenal, like ringing me, leaving me voice notes. They knew where my surgery was. They were there to ask questions. How are you feeling? Nurses were just sensational. And my nurse, she'll probably not see that, but she's from Winniebanks, where I'm originally from, and we have a family connection. And her niece I went to school with, and we were taking selfies, and it was just made it so easy. Now, just to caveat that, I had my surgery because I elected to have my surgery. Yeah. A lot of people have a stone because they have a cancer or endometriosis quite aggressively. So mine was a different choice, if that makes sense. Some of them don't have a choice. But I just asked that if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to. I've shown people. Some people are like not bothered. They go, oh yeah, let me touch it, or let me see it. What's in there? And you can show them. It's got like a little window, and you can actually see my small intestines. Some other people go, oh no, it's fine. I get that you've got it, and it doesn't bother me. But I named it Dennis the Stoma because my granddad had one, but I didn't know until he died. Right. My granddad was obviously called Dennis. Otherwise, that'd be a stupid name if he was called Ian. But yeah, so I'm quite open. I'm quite. You know, I was out last night at the NUF Awards, and people were going to the toilet. So I'm just going to take my bag for a walk. It's a joke for me. And that's probably because I like to make jokes and I like to make light of it. It's easier to make jokes about yourself and other people in the modern day, especially.
I think, as you know, I like to champion diversity. Yeah. Right. So my way of shining the spotlight on things like racism, for example, which you know because I've accused you of being a racist plenty of times, which is probably about 90% true, but I'm joking, man. But you know that.
Do you remember when I first met Julie Gillespie?
Yeah.
And she was in your office, and I'd just been appointed on the board. And obviously this is like an in-joke, so you've got to have a weird sense of humour to understand it. But he walked me into Julie Gillespie's office and said, oh, this is Matt, my mate.
Who you're going to have to explain.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I mean, she's the boss, really. She's Ben's boss, isn't she? Of the Combined Authority.
Right, yeah.
And this is Matt. He's a good mate of mine. We've been family friends. He's a bit racist, but he's all right. And you just don't know what these people think, do you? Like, we're all right to have a joke and a laugh because we like to talk about it, but I just looked at her and I don't know if she really got it.
It's the sharp exit that I make is the key.
She's left, so she couldn't question you, so she's left, looked at me thinking, well, is he racist? And then I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to try and caveat that and go, I'm not. I was like, he's taking the piss. Like, you can believe who you want. I'm here to stay, so yeah.
Yeah,
I'll never forget that.
The point I was making there, though, is I like to try and put a spotlight on those kind of serious issues, right? By, where appropriate, to make a joke that gets to highlight the issues and things.
It's a nice icebreaker, isn't it?
Yeah. Obviously, with people like yourself, we're friends. So, it's a bit of a piss take at the same time as well to make you feel uncomfortable. It's funny.
You have to go a bit further than that.
It's funny, isn't it? Come on. Right. So, but you were kind of going down the same route there, aren't you, by cracking a joke about...
Yeah, highlighted. I always think stigmas are stigmas until they're not, which sounds like a really stupid thing to say, but I remember working with a lady who had a huge birthmark on her face. The first 3 weeks I worked with her, I was doing what everyone else did, but I was admitting it. I was like, oh yeah, I keep looking at her, but after you've worked with her for a period of time, it just become normal. Yeah. And actually people that see my bag the first time going, oh, you've got a what? Does it do, like... And then you start telling them, so you just do that? And I go, yeah. I go, all right. And it becomes all right. And a bag's very different to someone being racist or being physically abusive or controlling. So it is different, but it is and I'm not struggling, but it is a coping mechanism, isn't it? And that's how we do. We've got to highlight these things, the serious topics, but sometimes the correct way of doing it is often the most difficult and the longest. So actually by doing it your own way, you're making your own little play, aren't you?
Yeah. And I do think it is an issue, like in the sense of people might understand better about that and be having to face that themselves, so that sharing of information is going to help them in that way. And also, you do get people that don't understand about these things and they can discriminate. You get discrimination.
Education.
So it's about raising awareness and educating people, isn't it? Yeah. So I don't think the issues are sort of worse or better, whatever, than each other. They're all in their own right, aren't they?
Time's a great thing, though, isn't it? And it's definitely got better over time. I remember being at a networking event, and there was supposed to be 2 ladies on the panel. There was only one, for whatever reason, replaced by somebody else at last minute that was male. And someone said, "Oh, it's great to be so and so." I'm a little bit disappointed with the panel. I said, "Oh, can I just stop you there? I've been networking for 20 years at this point. When I started networking, I'd be lucky if I saw a woman. Genuinely, that room was a 70-30 split in favour of female, and it was brilliant to see. And I was like, how far are you going to push this agenda before it comes that you want a woman to have a job because she's a woman? Because I tell you what, I don't know a woman out there that wants a job because she's a woman. They want a job because they're good enough and they're right and they want to be treated fairly. And I just think there's a rhetoric that we can push too far sometimes and say, oh no, you must give it. No, you don't. You always give it to the best person, the right person, the one who's earned it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it, and I'm supportive of. I've got a lot of female business women. My partner's got a business that she runs with her sister. My mum was incredible throughout bringing up 4 kids. So let's not put this on me that, it doesn't support it. I absolutely support it 100%, to the point where it's natural and it's right and it's fair.
Yeah. Well, that's how it should be, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
You find it a hard argument to come across, say, oh, no, you should give the job because she's a woman. I mean, it's never going to get said out loud, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So what else is happening, Matt? What's the future looking like? Have you got any interesting things going on?
Yeah, LV is just we've had like the hardest time in 100 years. We had Brexit, which is a huge challenge for our business globally. We have the Suez Canal. Remember that small boat that got stuck? So even if your goods weren't on there, they were stuck behind it or in front of it.
I have to say, the animation that we did that was on that theme was sick.
It's pretty cool.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
That was sick, that.
And then we had COVID, obviously, in the midst of it all, and we tackled Brexit before Christmas, and everyone just seemed to forget about it because we got a deal, but the implications are still being rolled. I won't bore you with the technical terms of customs and CDS and chief and the difference it's meant to our exporting members, both locally and internationally. It's been tricky. And then to face down the barrel of what we're all expecting as some sort of recession that I think, and a few of the business leaders that I speak to, think that it's possibly not going to happen now. People have worked really hard to make sure that their business is in a position that it means it won't go into whatever levels of deprivation and poverty that it might have seen a year ago when everything was difficult. And that's not to say there won't be businesses that struggle, because there is right now, and the business that closes today. I just think that global effort that everyone's put into to work hard, to focus on sales, to get the right people in, to maintain the staffing levels, to not get rid of people, will pay some sort of dividends. And I did a couple of round table events over the last few weeks, and there's a very positive, particularly in Teesside, there's a very positive outlook now. It's still uncertain, and when you've got uncertainty, you probably get a lack of investment, because if it's uncertain, they're going to go, I'll just wait a little bit. So we might have seen things happen quicker, or other things happen at Tees Works in the airport and the surrounding areas that are major projects that might. But we're also going to see some really big announcements over the next 3 to 6 months that will, again, transform the area. And back to the reason I'm on that board is one, because it impacts the sector I work in, but also I believe that if we get this right, it doesn't just impact us. It impacts the next 3, 4, 5 generations of people. We're seeing businesses like Green Lithium, who have got a small office in this building. That's a 63-acre site. They'll be the biggest producer of lithium on the planet. That's as big as Nissan for me. It's a game changer, and it's happening in Teesside. And it's brilliant to see. Again, not getting into politics, but you raise the profile. And however you do that, by whatever means, it's aspirations. And I remember Andy took over as mayor, and I think we were pretty much bottom of every league table. And he said, we're never going to be number one, we're not a major city, so we've got to have an aspiration. We've got to want to do better, haven't we? Or we just accept that we take so many people and so much poverty and that we get a little bit of money. I think we're going to see a transition in councils. I think we're going to see the councils struggle. They're going to have to merge. And you'll see that with businesses. You'll see it with the academies. As mentioned, I'm on there, and you're going to see more schools and more academies merging to have that strength in numbers. And you're going to see, why do we need 3 FDs at 3 schools? Let's have one that oversees them, and that's natural, isn't it? And
that's just business, bro. Yeah. Like, you run it as lean and as efficient as possible.
Of course you do, yeah.
isn't it?
Unless you're Huntsman, they just give loads to charity, don't they? Have you seen that? It's phenomenal.
But the thing is, right, yeah, you're right. We need to have, we need to be aspirational here. And there's lots of stuff that's going on that's wicked.
Yeah,
it's
cool,
sick.
isn't it?
We've got some good projects going on. The whole thing that gets thrown around about talking up Teesside and things like that. Yeah, 100%. We're all ambassadors for our area. You know, like
I was the first one though, just so you know. first ambassador.
But yeah, okay, whatever. But
That's true. Yeah.
you know, like we all do that in our own right, don't we? Whether you're just doing it from a personal perspective, if you take the piss out of your cousin for living in Manchester or whatever, you know what I mean. They've got a big city to shout about, but I see this place is rife for businesses that can thrive because it's low cost of operation.
Yeah.
Of course, we're getting the same impact of things we can't help, like inflationary costs and energy costs and all that. Carry on.
Yeah.
But accommodation, you know, good skills pools, nice place to be in.
Good restaurants,
lots of environment around here. You can go to the beach and the hills and all the rest of it. So that's a nice thing to use as a selling tool. Yeah. And we're just well placed to do that. I think for me, what I want to see is alongside that scheme of high ticket items that are big, shiny, sexy projects and stuff like lithium, what you were just talking about, is the layer underneath it that we've got a solid, robust plan to make sure that the business is there, helped in the right way to succeed. Chain, yeah, 100%, because then we all win. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So what are you going to do about it, basically?
Yeah, I was going to beat the drum a bit more, but it's a trickle-down effect, isn't it? And there was a comment by a fairly well-known politician, not around here, that I've taken from them and I'm going to give to you. And actually, that's just said in the wrong way, isn't it? Actually, you give to the big businesses who create, who give jobs, who provide wealth, who put meals on the table. Is kind of how it is, and we see that from Amazons and Elon Musk.
Yeah, they do. But I'm going to tell it.
We've had it here, haven't we? British Steel and the rest of it. They're the big businesses that feed the people. So I think it was just poorly put across, shall we say?
Yeah, 100%. And as to challenge that though, of course, having big organisations that can provide a lot of local wealth and be a big provider of employment, etc. That's great. But we need to make sure we're on the ball across the board, because there's stuff that won't go into the supply chain for something like the lithium manufacturer, but that doesn't discount those businesses either. You know, and having the and I know they are doing this. I just think we need to try and make sure we do it in a coherent way. Everybody's included in that. It's very inclusive. For example, a nighttime economy, like I was saying there. Because you do need the bars to go to, what you just referenced. And me and you like a good feed, so we need some...
You've got to have something that draws people into town, haven't you, which they're working on, especially in Middlesbrough, I know, for a degree. And obviously there's a development at Stockton where they're dragging people sort of towards the river.
Yeah, 100%.
You've got to allow them to get on the river as well. You've got to have access to the river for canoes and for people to swim and all that kind of stuff. So it's just like, I always try and focus on the real human element of it. Yeah, nice, big, shiny business. All right, what's it going to provide? What are we going to see? Who's going to benefit? And that's where the real value is, isn't it? And if
100%. If it all gets shared around, everybody wins, doesn't it? And that's
not everyone's going to win.
Not everybody.
You want the opportunity, don't you?
Yeah, not everybody can. Granted, but we can take steps, can't we? And
you just improve as a business. Sorry, you were. I don't know. Your product wasn't good enough. Can you improve it? Or your price was too expensive. You know, you sit and analyse your own business and make improvements so that you are better placed next time that opportunity comes up. That's the world, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And there's that level of competition there anyway. So it's never going to be any different there. I think what I'm getting at there is like making sure we're mindful of developing everybody.
Yeah, you're right.
So what else, Matt? If you went out on a night out for a meal, I don't know whether you go for a night out these days, do you?
It's busy at the minute. I've seen Catherine once this week, so yeah. So I'm going to Edinburgh tomorrow, actually, so that'll be nice. We'll go there. So we'll go to the Christmas market, Edinburgh, and we'll try a few stalls there. We'll have sort of Yorkshire pudding wrap and a chorizo, or whatever they call them, bloody churros, I mean. We'll have a good time, have a couple of drinks, come back on the train, miss the England match. Not that I'm bitter, train's at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we live in Eaglescliff, so we pop into Yarm quite a bit. There's some good places to eat there. You're never far from your doorstep, and it's nice to provide for them. I'm big on obviously having a partner who's got an independent business. I'm big about the independence. My coffee's from independence. I'm not going to my Costas so much anymore. And
who was the coffee that you would go to?
Mike Lawes from Sanseb down at the barrage. Big shout out, Mike.
Oh yeah,
absolute legend.
What can you get from him?
Anything you want. The best coffee in Teesside.
Right.
Seriously, absolutely outrageous. He also, what he's done well, he's got the coffee, which is, he might kill me for this, it's probably where he makes his money. But then he brings in local supplies like Blondie Baker, Sugarloaf Donuts. He has the pies from Five Houses and the Clucking Pig, so the Scotch eggs. And he sells them at pretty much what he pays for them. But then it draws people down to buy his coffee, and he's providing for everyone. Like, I just love it. I absolutely love it. And every time I go down, he's good conversation.
And where's he based?
He's based at the. If you came out of Teesside Park and you're driving towards David Lloyd's, you turn right at the roundabout and go down the slipway. So you're on the other side of the barrage opposite that. It's called Slip and Slide, Clip and Slide. Yeah,
the Sky Frame or something.
Yeah,
it's called.
He's just over there, little blue van called Claude, and. He got me through COVID. He helped me after my surgery. He supported me. I've supported. That's the world, isn't it? You make friends that way. It's nice. Yeah. He lives down near Yarm. We see him and his wife and his daughter going down. It's just nice.
Mint.
Nice coffee, mate, as well.
So Parmo or pizza?
Pizza for me, mate. I'm done with Parmos.
Done with Parmos?
Yeah, I mean, wasn't it?
You're supposed to be proper borough.
I've moved to Eaglescliff now.
You've called himself Baghdad Matt. What's he called himself? Saddam. What was it?
Baghdad.
Oh yeah, Baghdad. Right.
Yeah, but not Saddam Hussein, mate. Different.
Yeah, different. That was a different Matt.
Probably some chemicals and Teesside like his hands on. But
no, seriously.
Parmo, I don't mind. But if I do get a Parmo, I go to Middlesbrough for it.
Where am I going with this? Go on, give us the tips.
I'm going Manjaro's. Do you know why? Because the crumb is crispy, the chicken. Oh.
Do you know why it is? It's because they use proper panko breadcrumbs, man.
Wicked.
Right.
And the cheese actually tastes of something. You go to these places and there's what? It's 4,000 calories in a Parmo.
Well, if you're going to have 4,000 calories...
Have good cheese.
Have a bloody proper Parmo, you know what I mean? Right, okay, but I count that as a restaurant one. All right. And because Manjaro's also have Manjaro's Express as well, we're going to count them as one, so best takeaway Parmo.
Do you know what? I think because of COVID and stuff, I haven't really had all the restaurants were doing deliveries, weren't they? Which I loved. And I paid for it, obviously, with my health. But Golden G's, Virginia Gardens.
Brookfield.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But to be honest, I haven't had one from there.
That's a famous one, to be honest, to be fair, isn't it?
I think, do you know when I got one? When I started, our friend's funeral, Diane. Yeah. My godmother, your friend's mum, and went to the Bluebell after for the funeral. Yeah. Which was actually a bit of a party, wasn't it? It was quite cool, in a weird way. And I went there, and
that's probably how Diane, knowing her, would have wanted it.
Well, actually, do you not remember her daughter, Shelley, smashed me in the face with a cake at the funeral? Because many years ago, Diane walked out of the garden. Yeah. Sorry, we've segued here, haven't we? Yeah. With two a Black Forest Gateau and a cheesecake, and my brother went...
What colour was that Gateau? Right, go on,
Rainbow Forest Gateau. See how he does it? Comes out with these, and they've got I'm not making out the posh, they've quite a long walk from the house to the back of the garden where we were sat. And my brother said, go on, I dare you. I said, what you go and ask her which one's the favourite, and when she looks down. So it wasn't my idea, but I'm that man, I'm that child.
Yeah, you're the one who would do it.
Yeah, so I went, I ain't dying, yeah. She looked straight away, like, why is he being nice? And I went, what's that one? She went, well, that one's a so-and-so, and that one's a black, and then she put the hand down, I just went, in her face, and she stood there, genuinely, and went, it won't be today, and it probably won't be tomorrow, but one day, I'll get you back for that. Yeah. So when Shelley literally got back to the Bluebell to have a couple of drinks at the funeral, and all of a sudden, I just felt I felt like someone punched me in the eye, and she just got a cake and slammed it straight in my face and went, literally, my mum's dying wish was to get you back, and she wanted me to do it in the church. I don't know if you remember, I did a little talk at a funeral.
You did, yeah.
And she said, that's when we were going to do it. I thought, that would have been evil. Anyway, the vicar apparently vetoed it. He didn't want the mess. But yeah.
It would have been absolutely brilliant.
Oh,
yeah.
Imagine that. Yeah. But
No,
yeah.
no.
So anyway, where were we? We were going somewhere else for that, weren't we?
What were we saying, Ollie?
Ollie, you don't get enough limelight in these things. You
I
want to come
keep
on camera?
telling him, yeah, put him on the
He's
mic.
really good looking, isn't he, as well? Just put us to shame.
Yeah.
He could do, like, off Radio 1, the guy, he's famous now, isn't he, Dom? So what I have to do, these are Lidl's version of, what they're called, squashies, aren't they? But
Squashums or something, yeah.
These are called Twinnies. And I have to give a verdict on them. So, first thing I will say is...
This is for your lass, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
She loves a squashy and said there's nothing will beat them, but they're very square.
What I think you should do as well, because we've been referencing Catherine loads, is give her shop a plug, will you? Go on. You can thank me later,
The
Catherine.
squashies are not as good as... Sorry, the Twinnies are not as good as squashies.
Not as good.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
That's like, we need to load that bomb drop in here. Let's see
I'll
how
do some outtakes later.
let's see how to do it, because and there's been every episode's had like a couple of bombs dropping.
You should get like a little thing on it where somebody does a test of something every time they come on. But yeah, Catherine, we've been together for nearly 6 years now. Got a 3-year-old, Nancy. And Catherine and her sister have run a business for, it'll be 8 years roughly now, a florist in Eaglescliffe called Sweet William. So high-end, not cheap, flowers that'll last you for a good period of time.
Yeah.
With what I can only say is very stylish. So we're not going into a cheap shop in
What's
Morrison's.
the socials?
I think there's Sweet William Floral and then Sweet William Floral Design and Gifts on Facebook, so check them out. But
We'll find it and put it on the
yeah,
screen.
brilliant. She goes to work and stands in a fridge all day, basically, and then delivers the flowers. She does the business side of it, so pays the bills, pays the wages, deals with the accounts, does the deliveries. Her sister makes the flowers and makes them amazing with her. We've got one other member of staff, but now is crazy time, mate. She'll leave the house at 6. She won't come in till 8, 9 o'clock at night. She'll be freezing cold. I'll be in bed. She'll get in bed. She'll get out before me. Do you know? And it's like, she's not one to shout about it and talk about how hard they work and call themselves entrepreneurs. And she just goes to work, gets on with it, comes home. Do you know what I mean? And she's an unbelievable character. She just the opposite of me. I'm a bit of a gobshite. I'll tell anyone that'll listen to anything. She is very understated and probably doesn't realise, the things she's doing now are gonna last forever for her. She's putting herself in good stead. So it's been a challenge.
Yeah.
Brexit and has put the price up by about 40% on flowers from Holland. And then COVID, obviously, the throats were cut, no funding support, a COVID loan that was taken, that was it. The rent still need to be paid, the staff need to be on furlough, and obviously all the weddings were cancelled. The only thing that was going was funerals, which we weren't allowed to attend to some degree, which they didn't bother with flowers. All the hotels that they supply, all the car garages they supply, like Porsche, name check, just drop that in. They weren't ordering flowers.
I remember when was it Lexus or Hyundai your mum worked for?
Yeah, she worked for South Cleveland Garages back in the day, which is now it's not SG.
I remember.
Stuff.
I think my dad got a Hyundai.
Oh, Hyundai
before they were a thing.
Yeah, the
Right.
Hyundai accent.
And I think it's called a Elantra or
Elantra,
something.
yeah, they were the big ones.
And they got
Obviously,
flowers
for money.
with that. So it ain't
Yeah,
just
they used
Porsche.
to.
It
They
might
used
be
to.
now.
I tell you what they use for that. They use Karen, who's a friend of my mum's from Butterflies on Roman Road, so another florist, because we're all in this together. It's a tough gig. They use them, and it was brilliant. Every car you bought, you got some flowers. They still do it to some degree. So we do a bit with Sean and the guys at SG Petch, where my mum.
Yeah.
It wasn't SG Petch, but the same stuff.
Yeah.
But
South
I'd drive a
Cleveland
Hyundai now.
Garages or something like that.
Differences we care. So yeah, that was back in the day, mate. And I still drive a Hyundai now. I used to clean them when they came out, and they're brilliant cars. You put a Merc badge on my car, and it's worth 60 grand. It's just got a Hyundai badge, so it cost me 35 instead. It doesn't work pay. And the car allowance.
Yeah. No, they're good. They're good
Yeah, they're
cars.
solid. I touch wood. They never break down. I've never had any problems with them.
They're good cars. The sister company is Kia, isn't
Yeah.
it? So
solid, built well, and they've improved every year. You know, when they bring the new ones out, they've learned, they've done something better. So they're right up there. It's a lovely car. It's big enough that I don't look ridiculous getting out of it like Postman Pat or something. But
it's all good. I can remember going up and down the A19 over the last few years and seeing these like headlights come absolutely tearing behind me in the rear view mirror, and I'm thinking, who the hell's this in a Hyundai going like it's like a Lambo, like a bloody Urus, driving it like a Urus. He's bloody drinking my coffee and got my cruise control on 50, 60 mile an hour. Pulling up to me and all this, I'm thinking, who's this racist?
I was just so happy to see you. So happy to see you. I was like, there's Shak with his private reg and his big flashy Merc.
It's pretty much a daily. It was a daily.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think you were going up towards like Seaham way, weren't you?
Yeah.
I just started with LV, so I was going up towards Valenbeck and Jarrow.
So it was north. We were both going. Yeah. But yeah, good times, bro. Yeah. Listen, man, it's been fun to have you on here.
Thanks for having me on, mate. It's been a pleasure, and it's nice. To get certain messages out there and to let
100%.
I'd just say that if anyone wants to speak to me about any of the things I've spoken about, I'm here to help, and that's what I'd like to give back a bit.
So we'll make sure we stick your socials on, which is going to be
all sorts. It's too many. Baghdad Matt.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Obviously, just a little link to the top employers of LV. So yeah.
Yeah, so we'll put Matt's LV logistics handle on there and the Baghdad Matt if you're interested to see what's going on with the brother, and I'm sure there'll be a few other bloody handles after this episode.
A few hashtags.
I know, yeah, man. We're going to have to be getting some affiliate marketing revenues for this.
I'll hook you up. Is there any business out there want to pay Shak a couple of quid to keep this going?
Well, there you go. We do it out of the goodness of our heart here, and Ollie's the magician who does it all, and we just chat shit on the mic.
You've got to pan it that. Look how good looking he is on there.
No, it's been good, brother, and thank you so much for coming in.
Pleasure.
And yeah, let's do it again sometime.
Let's get someone else on.
Who should we get? I'll give you the choice.
Right, next one, I'll bring someone and we'll interview them. We'll do something a bit different, a bit more fun, because like I see a lot of like, hi, tell me about your time in business. And the same people are on it, and Bill won't mind me saying he's always on it, isn't he?
Yeah, I said to
you...
you...
I'm saying to Bill, I want to get him, and it's more laid back.
I said to you earlier, when he was holding this episode up by calling...
he's a VIP though, isn't he? I've got an answer.
Yeah, I know, yeah. So I said, didn't I, tell him to come on?
Yeah.
But what I want him to come on for is not to just have to do the stock...
Yeah, it's too much of it now, isn't there?
Yeah, bro, you know what
we want to get deeper into people. There's
the whole
some great
point,
characters out there.
The whole point in laying the Shak down.
He said the Shak down.
I want to get that WWF Championship belt for this part of the wall here. Like, people probably don't know, but I was a fucking absolute obsessed with WWF.
I know.
At the time, I loved it.
First time I met him, he gave me a DDT.
Yeah, man, it was, and The Rock was my hero, hence the Shak down, right? So, I can remember one time in school going to where was I? Earl's Court, I think they were at. So I went somewhere in bloody London City, right, to go and see The Rock, and I think he had the Big Show with him or something. That we're going to this HMV. Is that a thing still?
No, I don't. It's online. Is it online? I don't know.
I don't know, but he used to sell
seats. HMV.
No.
A master's voice.
Oh, I do know that.
A little dog with the.
Yeah.
What is it?
So HMV, they used to sell like CDs and stuff before.
I feel really old now.
CDs was what you used to listen to music off before there was like Spotify and stuff. And the thing is, right, where the hell am I going with this? WWF, right? So I'm bloody queued, right, with thousands and thousands of people in the freezing cold.
I bet they're all dressed up as well in spandex, weren't they?
Bro, like there was just people everywhere, right? Bearing in mind, I was at secondary school. I'd gone to London to stand in this queue.
It's a big deal.
With my fucking poster in my hand. Like, Rock, please sign this for me, Rocky.
All crinkled and knackered for the
waiting for him to go, what's your name? It doesn't matter what your name is. Right, so, anyway, didn't fucking get in, did I?
Really?
Colour of my skin.
Ah, right,
No, I'm joking. The queue was too big. So... No, it was because the queue was way too big. There was thousands of people there, right?
Yeah.
And then I can just remember having to phone my dad from where the hell?
Probably, did you reverse the charges in a payphone? That was a thing, wasn't it?
I actually think I had a mobile phone at that time. And the only reason I had that is because my parents... Do you remember I moved to London for a bit? So I moved to London and then I wouldn't stop giving my mum and dad shit about it, right? Because obviously my life was in the borough, right? They're fucking taking me from my friends here.
There's no Parmos, mum.
You know what I mean? And I was a bit of a baller, like, in the sense of playing basketball and... anyway, that just ended my life, and obviously I had a few credits in the street from being a TS5 gang member with you. And
In the hood.
yeah, we were in the TS5 crew, but yeah, we went to bloody London and no one knew me, and I was just some random guy. They actually thought I was from India or something at first. It was
So do I.
Yeah, it was
Ridiculous
it was
assumption.
Yeah. So anyway,
did you get it signed, Shak?
bro, we didn't get it. I didn't get to see him. Couldn't get in there.
I'd have lied. I'd have just signed it myself and told me dad, oh yeah, I went there.
So I ended up having to phone our dad from, I think, I'm trying to remember. It was like Northolt or something, bloody tube station. And he picked us up and all the way home. He was telling me why I was going to be a failure if I focus on this stuff. I should focus on my schoolwork. Well, who got the last laugh, Dad?
I think he's still laughing, isn't he?
He tortures my life.
I bet he does.
He does. So, there's a few good stories.
Yeah. First time I went to London with my friends, I was 17, going out nightclubbing or whatever for my mate's birthday. I stepped off the train in London and I saw my old English teacher, and it blew my mind. I've come all this way, because obviously when you live in Middlesbrough and you never go out.
Yeah, exactly.
London's the other side of the earth, isn't it? And I got there, I was like, oh my God, Mrs. Wilson, wow. How did you get here? She looked and went, the train. I was on the same one as you. I could hear you all the way. Fuming. I was like, yeah, good point.
I bet you said you were just from your voice as well.
She heard us, so she sat in the other carriage because she didn't want to be near us. Imagine me and my two brothers, my cousin Robbie, all the lads. It was just...
I can imagine.
Yeah, not the people you want to sit next to for 4 hours on a train.
Good crack, bro.
Thanks,
well,
mate.
we've kind of done this a bit back to front here because we've ended up doing an extended
It's all about relaxing
period.
and having fun.
But yeah. All right, guys, this has been another episode of The Shak Down, and this week we laid the smack on Baghdad Saddam, Matthew Ord from LG Logistics and other places. So, yeah, don't forget to share and like this video, please. Subscribe to the channels. If you're interested in doing a bit of sponsorship with us, hit us up. It's going to support our brother Ollie, who is at college at the moment, learning how to do his thing on the technical side of things with cameras and whatnot. But I think you'll agree that he does a sick job anyway. But yeah, make sure you share it and like it, and we'll see you again on the next one. Peace out.